What if the healthy foods you're eating are actually speeding up aging? After 60, your body reacts differently, and some common foods can quietly trigger inflammation, drain your energy, and dull your memory. But here's the good news. 5 simple swaps can help you stay sharp, strong, and vibrant. Stick around. Number 2 shocked me most. Think of the words of Dr. Shigaki Hinohara, one of the world's longest-serving physicians. A car doesn't last on empty promises. It needs the right fuel, chosen with care. Our bodies, too, cannot run forever on what they once tolerated. They need a gentler kind of fuel, chosen wisely, with tenderness for the years already lived. And it isn't about deprivation. It isn't about lists of forbidden foods. It is about a shift in attention, a deeper listening to what the body truly asks of us now. But Dr. Andrew Weil, another pioneer of longevity medicine, reminds us that real health is not built on fear or strict avoidance. It is built on calming the fires of inflammation day after day, meal after meal. A steady, patient practice. Not a miracle, not a secret, but a choice repeated in the small routines of life. The way we pour oil into a pan, the fruit we peel, the bread we reach for in the morning. That is the promise of this conversation. To shine a gentle light on 5 foods that, without our noticing, can quietly accelerate aging, and to reveal 5 simple, nourishing replacements that support not only your joints and muscles, but your memory, your energy, and even your sleep. Each swap is modest, each is possible, and each is rooted in both science and tradition, in the wisdom of people who have lived long, vibrant lives without letting their meals become their enemy. So let us walk together through these changes, not with fear, not with guilt, but with curiosity, and with the hope that every plate, every bite can become a small act of renewal, because your body still wants to live. It still wants to move, to think, to rest, and all it asks, after all these years, is that you give it the right fuel to do so. There is something almost tender about the way habits follow us through life. We learn them young, often from parents and grandparents, and they stay with us for decades. A glass of orange juice in the morning, a slice of soft bread, a drizzle of oil on the pan, a cube of cheese on the plate, a slice of ham between 2 slices of bread. These routines feel safe, familiar, and comforting. They remind us of kitchens filled with voices, of hurried breakfasts before work, of long dinners at the family table. But as the years pass, the same foods that once kept us strong and steady can begin to tell a different story. The body, quieter now, whispers through stiffness, swelling, or fatigue. What once helped is now asking to be reconsidered. Take that morning juice, for example. For many, it has long been a symbol of vitality, bright, refreshing, full of vitamins. Yet behind its sweetness hides a reality the body no longer tolerates as well as it once did. Without the protective fiber of the whole fruit, the juice pours sugar straight into the bloodstream. At first there is a burst of energy, but soon after, a hollow crash that leaves the body drained. For someone over 60, this pattern does not pass unnoticed. The swings in blood sugar deepen inflammation in the joints, cloud clarity in the mind, and leave behind a feeling of weakness that no nap can quite fix. The glass that once promised health now empties vitality little by little, but the orange itself tells a different tale. Peeled slowly with patience, each segment offers sweetness that arrives gently, wrapped in fiber that slows its entry into the bloodstream. Antioxidants hidden in the flesh and skin help protect fragile vessels, and digestion takes place in a rhythm the body understands. In Okinawa or Ikaria, places where elders live long and active lives, fruit is never poured from a bottle. It is eaten whole, often after a light meal of beans or fish, never in isolation. The fruit becomes not a spike of sugar, but a companion to nourishment, and so the wisdom emerges. A squeezed drop may look sweet, but the whole fruit keeps the system whole. The same quiet lesson is hidden in the oils lined up on kitchen counters. For decades, corn oil, soybean oil, and sunflower oil were praised as light alternatives. They seemed modern, convenient, even heart-friendly. Yet their secret is an imbalance. Packed with omega-6 fatty acids, they push the body toward chronic inflammation when not balanced with their omega-3 cousins. The result is not dramatic, but subtle and constant. Muscles that heal more slowly after activity, aches that linger long after they should, a body that seems less resilient each year. In homes across Okinawa, Where centenarians still tend gardens and walk with steady steps, oil is used with restraint and care. Coconut oil appears sparingly. Sesame oil scents a broth but never dominates. Olive oil, in its purest form, drizzles lightly over greens or beans. These choices are not about fashion or diet trends, they are about balance. Oils that calm inflammation create space for repair, movement and clarity. Oils that stoke it wear the body down silently, like a small fire that never goes out. A drizzle of olive oil on steamed vegetables, a spoon of avocado oil over lentils, becomes more than flavor. It becomes protection, a safeguard for tomorrow's movement. Bread is another old companion. Few things are as comforting as a slice of fresh, soft bread or a warm plate of pasta. For generations, these foods carried families through lean times, offering affordable fullness. Yet, when stripped of their fiber and nutrients, these refined grains demand a heavy toll. They break down swiftly into sugar, entering the bloodstream unchecked, creating the same roller coaster that juice does, an initial rise, then a hard fall. For older adults, the consequences are especially harsh. Sluggish digestion, restless sleep, an energy that cannot sustain a full day. And still, grain itself is not the enemy. In Sardinia, one of the longest-lived communities in the world, barley porridge is an evening ritual. Soaked and simmered, it becomes hearty and soothing, helping the body find rest through the night and steadiness in the morning. Quinoa, oats, and other whole grains, when prepared with time and care, feed not only the body, but also the gut bacteria that protect immunity and mental clarity. They release their energy slowly, filling reserves instead of emptying them. Refined grains, in contrast, act like rain falling too fast to soak the soil. Whole grains, prepared with patience, act like a gentle river nourishing the land. The story repeats with dairy. Rich creams and full-fat cheeses have their place in memory, on the holiday table, in the comfort of a warm dish on winter nights. Yet as the years accumulate, the body often resists these foods. Digestion slows, joints ache more after heavy meals, and the added calories settle in ways that make movement harder. This does not mean dairy must disappear entirely. What the elders of the Blue Zones teach is that moderation and transformation matter. Instead of blocks of cheese or heavy cream, they take dairy in fermented form, yogurt, kefir, small amounts of goat's milk. Fermentation makes it gentler on digestion, easier to absorb, and even beneficial for the gut. The difference lies in how it is prepared and how much is consumed. Not all rich dairy strengthens. Nourishment is found in balance, in the lightness of a spoonful stirred into soup, not in the weight of a plate overloaded with cream. Perhaps the most striking example of food's quiet betrayal is in processed meats. The convenience of deli slices, sausages, and cured cuts has made them staples in many households. They promise fullness and flavor, but behind that promise lies a heavy burden of salt and preservatives. Circulation suffers, blood pressure rises, legs swell with fluid, and fatigue becomes constant. For older adults, these changes are not minor. They threaten independence and mobility, the very essence of daily life. Yet once again, the alternative is not deprivation but redirection. In the Mediterranean, elders sit down to meals of fish seasoned with herbs, beans roasted with olive oil, or plain cuts of chicken grilled simply. These choices deliver protein, the building block of strength without the load of sodium or additives. Chickpeas roasted until crisp, lentils simmered with garlic, a fillet of fresh fish drizzled with lemon. These foods do not steal vitality, they preserve it. Processed meats may fill the stomach, but they often take away tomorrow's steps. Fresh, simple proteins give them back. What unites all these lessons is not a rule book, but a way of listening to the body. Aging does not demand punishment or strict diets. It asks for adaptation, for foods that match the body's changing rhythm. The habits of youth: juice, white bread, heavy cheese, cheap oil, quick slices of processed meat, no longer serve as they once did. But their replacements are not exotic, expensive, or complicated. They are the foods our ancestors once knew well. Whole fruit, balanced oils, hearty grains, modest dairy, fresh proteins. Each adjustment is an act of care, a quiet recognition that the body has carried us for many years and now deserves fuel chosen with greater tenderness. It is not about restriction, but renewal. Not about giving up, but giving back. The kitchen becomes a place of sanctuary rather than struggle. A plate of berries instead of juice, a drizzle of olive oil instead of corn oil, a bowl of porridge instead of white bread, a spoonful of yogurt instead of cream, a fillet of fish instead of sausage. These are not sacrifices. They are gifts, small offerings that remind the body it is still worth nourishing. And perhaps the most important truth of all is that it is never too late to begin. Even after 60, 70, or 80, the body responds to kindness. Inflammation quiets. Energy returns in small but noticeable ways. Steps feel lighter. Sleep deepens. The simple act of choosing differently at the table becomes a way of honoring not just the years behind us, but the ones still to come. Every meal becomes a reminder that vitality has not left. It is waiting patiently to be invited back. Aging slowly is about choices, night and day. Aging is not a punishment, though sometimes it feels that way. The knees refuse to bend with ease, the nights are restless, and the mornings begin with a heaviness that lingers even after the first sip of coffee. These are not signs of failure, but reminders that the body is no longer the same as it was decades ago. What once nourished with no consequence can now leave behind pain, swelling, or fatigue. And in this delicate shift lies a truth that is both unsettling and liberating. The food that once supported us may now need to be reconsidered, not with fear, but with wisdom. For much of life, we build trust in certain foods. A glass of juice promises vitamins, bread feels like comfort, cheese feels like strength, and meat promises fullness. These beliefs are woven into memory, into family tables, into the rhythm of daily life. To question them feels almost like betrayal, as if we are abandoning the foods that once cared for us. But aging itself is a reminder that everything changes. Our bones, our digestion, our resilience. It is not that these foods suddenly become dangerous, but that our bodies have become more sensitive, more in need of gentleness. What served us well at 30 may strain us at 70. This is not weakness, but evolution, a call to honor the body's new rhythm. It is tempting to think that every plate now hides a threat, that aging means watching every bite with suspicion. But food is not the enemy. The glass of juice, the loaf of bread, the slice of ham, the wedge of cheese, they are not villains. They are simply companions that no longer fit the pace of life we live today. To age with dignity is not to cast them out with resentment, but to recognize the moment when their time has passed. Graceful aging is not about clinging to the past or fearing the future. It is about living fully in the present, understanding what the body asks of us now, and responding with care rather than guilt. The Japanese physician Shigeaki Hinohara, who lived past 100 years and treated patients until the very end, often spoke of life as a series of thoughtful choices. He reminded his patients that while youth cannot be preserved, renewal can always be cultivated. Renewal does not come from magic or secret tricks, but from the small, deliberate decisions we make each day. Choosing fruit instead of juice is not a punishment. It is a gesture of renewal. Choosing barley porridge instead of white bread is not a denial of pleasure. It is an act of protection. These are not sacrifices but offerings made to the body in gratitude for the years it has carried us. The physician Andrew Weil, whose work on integrative medicine has inspired many, echoes this wisdom. He teaches that the heart of longevity is not restriction, but the quiet practice of reducing inflammation meal after meal, day after day. Inflammation may sound like a technical word, but in truth it is something we all feel. It is the ache in the knees that flares after a plate of heavy food. It is the cloudiness of thought after sugar crashes. It is the fatigue that lingers no matter how much sleep we think we've had. To reduce inflammation is to bring calm where there was unrest, to offer the body peace in place of constant struggle. And food, chosen with intention, becomes the most powerful way to do so. But renewal does not require emptying pantries or tearing apart long-held traditions. It is not about throwing away foods that remind us of childhood or family. It is about finding gentler versions, about reshaping meals so that they still comfort but no longer harm. A spoonful of kefir stirred into a soup instead of a dollop of cream. A drizzle of olive oil across vegetables instead of corn oil in the pan. A handful of beans simmered with garlic instead of slices of sausage on the plate. These shifts do not erase the meaning of food. They preserve it, while also preserving the strength and clarity we still wish to hold on to. This is where the kitchen becomes more than a place of cooking. It becomes a sanctuary, a room not of restrictions but of healing, a place where meals are no longer prepared with the pressure of feeding children or rushing off to work, but with the slower, more intentional purpose of care. When the kitchen transforms in this way, eating ceases to be a battleground and becomes a ritual of self-respect. A plate is no longer just food. It is medicine in the gentlest sense, protection against decline, a quiet promise that we can still live with dignity. To sit at a table with such a plate is to reclaim control in a world that often makes aging feel like loss after loss. Each bite becomes a reminder that the body is still listening, still responding, still capable of renewal. Even at 70 or 80, the body does not give up on us. It waits. It waits for a little less burden and a little more kindness. It waits for the sugar to be tamed by fiber, for the inflammation to be soothed by oils chosen with care, for the heaviness of cream to be replaced by the lightness of fermentation, for the salt of processed meats to give way to the clean strength of fresh fish or legumes. The body waits patiently, ready to respond when it is finally given what it truly needs. And so the act of change becomes less about loss and more about possibility. It is not about what must be removed, but about what can still be gained. A clearer morning, a stronger step, a calmer night of sleep. These are not miracles. They are natural responses to respect. The body, even aged, remains eager to repair itself when given the chance. That is the great hope of aging, that it is never too late to feel better than yesterday. May your table be set with this hope. May your meals become gentle allies, not heavy burdens. May your kitchen be a place of renewal, a reminder that aging is not the end of vitality, but a shift in how we sustain it. Tonight, tomorrow, in every small choice, there lies the possibility of protecting what matters most: your strength, your clarity, your independence. Aging will continue as it must, but how it unfolds rests in part on these daily acts of care. So the question lingers softly at the end of this reflection: which small change calls to you now? Which gesture feels possible, even today? Perhaps it is fruit in place of juice, or olive oil in place of corn oil, or beans simmered slowly in place of cured meats. The answer is yours alone, shaped by your life, your table, your memories. And perhaps by sharing it, you will remind another person, someone listening, someone also in doubt, that renewal is still within reach, that it has always been within reach, that it begins not with fear but with the next meal, the next choice, the next act of kindness toward the body that still carries you faithfully.